Hi, I really want a catchphrase. Welcome one and all to another thrilling episode of Rank That Fang! This week we have a very special guest. That's right, say hello to everyone's favorite new racing game for the Nintendo Switch 2, Garfield Kart. What's that? We couldn't get him on? Oh no. What else do we have? I guess there's this, but nobody would want to watch a video about this. Whatever, we're gonna have to roll with it. That was just a joke, folks. Clearly nobody wants to see Garfield Kart. What I meant to say was Mario Kart World. Yes, let's all give a big round of applause. Mario Kart World is the 9th entry in the franchise, and even though we all miss the bygone days when they were numbering these instead of naming them, I guess we'll put up with their misdeeds. And put up with them we shall, because today we're going to be ranking every single track in this lovely new game. I'm quite the experienced racer, and so I won't be going easy on them. But in all seriousness, I am ranking them as Mario Kart tracks. I didn't really dislike too many this time around, so if they get a low score, it's just because everything else is so good that it looks bad by comparison. But also, it's my list, and if you don't like it, then you can... That's the end of the sentence. You're allowed to not like it. We kick things off with Mario Bros. Circuit, which does a masterful job of introducing this game to us. We always get a basic course like this with the same name in like every single game, which definitely won't make things confusing at any point in this video, but this one was good. It is simple enough to be an intro track while still having a lot of little flourishes and showing off a lot of the new ways to play. There are easy wall rides and rail grinds to pull off all over the place, and a couple of alternate paths to take if you feel like. It really is a warm-up for everything you'll experience in this game, and it doesn't really lose any value on replay. Let's start off strong with A tier. Crown City shows up twice in the Grand Prix mode, and neither time is it really all that great. But that's because this track is trying to hide its dirty laundry, and it is actually both sections combined. And when you drive the full thing, it's really a fun track. As the theme changes from crowded streets and narrow alleyways to towering rooftops and precarious construction, the driving itself transforms to match it. You go from tight turns and splits to open areas with gliding and grinding. It's a really fun track with a very nice visual appeal that is way more fun when you do it all together. Another A tier. I thought that Whistle Stop Summit would be a little bit more interesting when I first saw it. I mean, driving along a busy train station, dodging trains and rail grinding along the tracks. Unfortunately, the train yard that you drive past to reach the track is a bit more interesting in that regard. For the course itself, it's mostly just a simple raceway with some train tracks that weave in and out on either side. Part of me feels like this course is still hiding some neat secrets from me, but that aside, it's just not very interesting. B tier. And we're finishing the first cup with a strong right hook, or some other more accurate analogy. DK Spaceport is easily one of my favorite tracks in the game, and I had been looking forward to it ever since they showed it off in a Nintendo Treehouse. It's an amazing homage to the original arcade Donkey Kong game with rising girders, oil, fire, tons of rail grinding and wall riding, and even a giant robot DK to throw barrels at you. It has such a high coolness factor, and when you get to the last section of the race, the song switches to the hammer theme from the original game. It's just so amazing. S tier. I love this race so much. Very plain, very boring. My friend who helped me grab footage said that this version of Desert Hills is very different from the DS version, but most people wouldn't notice because nobody remembers Desert Hills. For good reason. D tier. I do kinda like the Moai that start to get up and roam around the track though, they're kinda silly. Considering they wanted the world to feel cohesive, the idea to slap Shy Guy Bazaar into the desert area of the world is a great way to maintain that bit of variety. That and all of the nooks and crannies do a wonderful job of emulating the crowded bazaar vibe. There are legitimately so many different paths to go through this track, enhanced by the many wall rides and rail grinds you can do to reach new areas. This track was already great on the 3DS and is even better now. A tier. This stadium is extremely middle of the road. Full pun intended. There are plenty of walls to ride, but they're very spaced out, so you likely won't. There aren't really any rails either, and while neither of those things are required, it does leave the stage feeling very minimal. I tend to prefer the more exciting tracks, so this one falls a bit flat for me. It does remind me a little bit of Excite Bike, but that doesn't earn it any points from me. C tier. Already one of the best stages back on the DS, Airship Fortress was a really cool design with great hazards. It didn't really need much to remain a cool track, with the cannon, the giant bonsai bills, and the flames on the interior. It works perfectly at representing its origins and being a good racetrack. But the rail grinding you can do in the early sections is really cool as well, elevating this course ever so slightly. Although the course isn't changed too much, it really didn't need to be. A tier. Not everyone loves crazy Mario Kart tracks like I do, I get that. And if some of the tracks have to be simpler to accommodate those folks, then it may as well be DK Pass. There isn't too much going on here, but there are some tight turns and some elevation changes to keep my monkey brain interested. Probably one of the better minimal tracks, especially compared to its brother Desert Hills. B tier. Why does DK keep getting mountains? While this course doesn't have Rosalina's name attached, Starview Peak is a much better representation of her and Galaxy than some stages that do. Cough, cough. It isn't hugely complex, but there is this long waterway, and the track is visually beautiful with loads of references to the Galaxy games. And there are Lumas cheering you on. Isn't that cute? B tier. Am I the only one who thinks it's weird to reuse a track so quickly? Sky High Sundae was originally released as DLC in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and around the same time in Mario Kart Tour, making this track only a few years old? Oh no, time is going way too quickly. I need to move on. This Sundae has loads of layers, with multiple paths through just about every part of the stage. It is massively revamped from its Switch 1 version, and there are so many ways to get around that make this a very interesting course to drive through. And I kinda like tracks that are themed around food. A tier. Wario's Shipyard is one of the rare cases where I think I prefer the original stage. I don't mind the water physics in general, but something about the way this stage is and the extended amount of time you spend on the water makes it a little less fun overall. It does manage to avoid falling into boring territory, and they added some really cool features with extra tricks and paths along broken pieces of ship that enhance the experience. But it still sits in B tier. Koopa Troopa Beach is a nothing stage. My younger brother would love this, but my younger brother has terrible taste. I would never avoid it, but I would never willingly seek it out. It looks good, but not in any way unique to this course. The game just always looks pretty good. C tier. Yeah, that's right, it's still above Desert Hills. What are you gonna do about it? Compared to the other tracks, Faraway Oasis doesn't really do any of the things that I tend to like. It's not overly crazy and doesn't have a lot of branching paths or cool tricks to pull off. But it's still a good stage. It looks nice, there are some nice elevation changes. It does simple in a way that makes you feel like you're a bit more involved, and of course finishes off with the cool waterfall section. B tier, which is short for Bring Back the Quicksand Pit in Dry Dry Desert. This isn't Peach Beach, you can't trick me. The first lap is a shell of the old Peach Beach, and then they threw on a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's cool, I like it. Lots of off-roading and buildings for some really cool kart riding possibilities, finished off with some wave riding on a stage that truly deserves it. Screw you, Wario. A tier. I am salty. Salty that this isn't a Venice Speedway. It looks great, has a great mix of land and water options at almost all times, and some cool trick options. Also Birdo for some reason. The option to go on or off water while passing through a lovely canal city is just simple fun. It doesn't go off the rails and it looks nice, and that's enough for me. B tier. It is amazing how much this stage is improved, considering it is nearly identical at the same time. There are new shortcuts for tricks and a load more dinosaurs. It is an incredible combo of new and old, and it was already a great track. It almost feels like the track is exactly how I remembered it, complete with crazy stunts that I imagined that you couldn't actually pull off before. And they turned the tiny bridge into a dinosaur you can rail grind on. I don't care if it's faster, I am rail grinding on a dinosaur, it's so cool. S tier. The Great Block Ruins are pretty nice. The blast straight into the air as you approach for the Grand Prix is cool, but the course is littered with alternate paths that connect in interesting ways for some real speed. Some tight turns make it not the most beginner-friendly course, but that's alright, cause I'm no beginner. I even pulled off a mildly interesting trick for once. I really like this course, so I'll sneak it into A tier. Cheep Cheep Falls is an extremely well-made course visually that falls into a bit of a bland category at times. The water can be a bit annoying to navigate, and the layout falls out of my mind even though I just played it. That explains why I couldn't remember much before grabbing footage. Fun to look at, mediocre to drive. C tier. And of course it's followed up with another visually interesting course with not a whole lot going on, but the dip into and out of the cavernous regions is fine enough. A pretty simple course, but a nice looking one. Just barely above Cheep Cheep Falls, but still just not interesting enough. C tier. And to cap off the triple threat of visually interesting flat courses is Boo Cinema. At the very least, the idea of traveling into the movie gives it a bit of fun, but it could have done a lot more with the concept. I do like the aesthetics of the movie reel racetrack, but you're in the movie for like 2 seconds, and otherwise it's pretty much a figure-8 track. B tier. You can tell this cup was all new courses because visually they stand out among the rest. Drybone's Burnout is the first to do so while also being a really interesting course. Driving through a cavern shaped like the elongated spine of a Drybones with some festive Day of the Dead decorations is everything I've ever dreamed of. I have some messed up dreams. But that doesn't stop this from being a really fun course with cool tricks and layers and path splits and just about everything that makes up a good course for me. S tier. I have to be honest, I'm not a big fan of Moo Moo Meadows. It's plain, but it does a bit more than most plain stages. And to be fair, it did give us Cow. It gets a pass. Unfortunately for Moo Moo Meadows, C's get degrees. Another thing my younger brother would love about Mario Kart is driving through poop. What this course lacks in visuals, it makes up for with some slightly above average driving with small ramps and slow sections, as well as adding these charging chucks all over. Also, this isn't part of the course, but if you're driving into it, there's a big wheel that says Monster Trucks, and that amuses me for no reason. A tier for the sign, C tier for the rest. I really like this stage. Even though the whole game game has an amazing soundtrack, I am gonna give Toad Factory bonus points for its song. Absolute banger. But also the stage theming is immaculate with fun little tricks and obstacles for grinding and wall riding all over the place. It's revamped in a great way that allows for some interesting pathing above the factory itself. A tier. Bowser's Castle is probably the stage with the coolest set pieces in the game. A giant volcanic storm in the shape of Bowser that you zoom past thanks to a unique mechanic speeding you up for half of the track. It's a lot of fun and looks really cool, and is another stage that is just as fun reaching as it is driving on. All of the elements come together really nicely in a stage that is definitely a Bowser Castle stage without looking exactly the same as every other one in the franchise. A tier. I never thought I'd say a course has too much going on, but Acorn Heights somehow manages it. At times, the course seems to be littered with platforms, vines, and walls for tricks that don't really feel meaningfully placed. The more I race on it though, the more I come around. There are some neat things to pull off here, but Maple Treeway is still a bit better. B tier. This course certainly feels like it comes from the SNES with how flat it is, but the twists and turns do make it a bit more fun, and the mashup element of it is neat, I guess. I've always thought this course was very Mario Kart-esque, and while it isn't the cream of the crop, it's very serviceable. B tier. The first time you visit Peach Stadium in a Grand Prix, they use the battle map. It's just an oval. And while the actual track isn't much more exciting, it does use some nice elevation and feature some decent turns. An okay track that was trying to pretend it was bad for some reason, and you know what? It's not the most interesting on its own, but the fact that it shares a name and location with the battle track and even wears the battle track's clothing at one point is hilarious. B tier. Rainbow Road is known for being one of the most difficult racetracks in every single game. The most difficult part of this one is that you might die of old age before reaching the end. This track is a marathon, but it is one of the most stunning marathons you'll ever complete. Each section has themes that nod to different parts of Mario Kart history, and even nods to the game itself as a big finale for putting in the effort to reach it. Probably not the most difficult track in the game, but it is an excellent culmination of everything Mario Kart World has been up to this point. And Robo DK is here, S tier. And that's all 30 tracks from Mario Kart World. I know it seems like I didn't like a lot of them, but I genuinely enjoy the game even when the tracks themselves aren't super interesting. It's very fun trying to find new ways to travel on each lap and learning how to do the tricks that come with it. And it's pretty easy to understate, but the high points of this game are extremely high. At worst, you're enjoying a casual kart racer, and at best, you're blasting through high-speed stages, pulling off cool stunts, driving on the walls, and rail grinding on awesome set pieces. And either way, you gotta have the good with the bad. If every track were as exciting or fast-paced as Bowser's Castle or Dino Dino Jungle, it would be overwhelming. Mario Kart is a time to relax and have some good fun. So if you disagree with any of my choices, be sure to shout at me and berate me in the comments. Do it, losers, fight me! Except I probably won't respond to negative comments. It isn't worth my time, sorry. And if you did like the video, you can prove it to the system with the like button or the subscribe button. As an added benefit, the subscribe button might even change color. I don't know if it still does that. Anyway, bye!